So if there's no more questions in the chat, I'll move to the discussion. We still have 20 minutes for the discussion. Let me see if I can put this in presentation mode. Can you see this?
Yes, we can. Yes.
Great. Okay, so then the first question, based on the presentations earlier, how would you describe the societal impacts of research data used for climate change studies? Steph, who had volunteered to answer this question?
Maybe I can.
Luis, yes, thanks.
So, like I tried to highlight in my presentation, I think it's there's an obvious added value to further research down the line that I think it's that we often talk about. I think other researchers working on international comparisons, on temporal comparisons down the line can really benefit from having this data ready for reuse and easy to find. And but I also think that, as I tried to highlight, it's very important to reach a wider range of stakeholders. I think especially decision makers, civil society organizations, companies, especially the smaller ones. I think, for example, big companies, states, so national administrations often have the resources to produce their own data. But for example, smaller actors that can have a very important role in fighting climate change don't have that capability, and they can really benefit from having more available data and having the data accessible to them as well. So I think it's very important to highlight the role of national CESSDA partners to reach these other publics, these other stakeholders.
Thanks, Luis. I think that's very interesting. You mentioned really the impact that CESSDA national service providers can have, also connecting to new communities. Thank you. Who wants to contribute to this question?
Well, I would like to add that there is really an urgent need for research-based, evidence-based data on climate change. And this is why all the research that we are doing at the moment it is vitally important, and it is vitally important that it is distributed not only for researchers and specialists, but also for policymakers and wider audience as well.
Thanks a lot, Harry. It's very interesting. Also, the wider audiences that you mentioned here, also like Luis says, there's new communities there. Stephanie, I'm passing the floor to you for the next question.
Yeah, so the next question is, how important is high quality data for cross-disciplinary research on climate change? And I'd like to pass the floor first to you, Vasco, please, if you'd like to say a few words about this.
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, in my case, the importance was being able to continue working and how easy it was. As I said in the past, I've contributed to repositories. I made deposits, so to say, in projects that I participated on, but I had never reused the data. And it was really straightforward because the metadata and the data really gives you important information to see what exists and what can be done. And another thing that it's good to know, it's you really can compare the types of analysis that have been made before and avoid duplicating data collection. It's something that I always like to stress, is these surveys sometimes are very large operations, and we know as researchers participating in projects that there is a large survey and we analyze a few questions, and there is always something that gets behind. But the questions have been asked before, so we can look at what people answered and see if it's useful for our own research. So we avoid duplicating data collection and make use of what's really out there.
Yeah, thanks very much. And Harry, if you'd like to say a few words on this question.
Yeah, it's not only, what is important is not only cross-disciplinary research on climate change, it is also comparative research, it's cross-national research that is important, because the climate change is a global challenge and we need data that is really worldwide, which is based on worldwide knowledge. So comparative analyses are very, very important in this respect.
Thank you. Marika, I'll pass the floor back to you. The next question.
Thanks a lot. So the third question is, how important is the support from service providers, the data experts, for your research workflow? Who of the researchers wants to start with this question?
Can I start then?
Yes, please go.
Thank you. So as I said, this support is crucial. It's very, very important to have it. I don't think researchers generally have and I'm probably one of the more informed ones compared to other people that I usually work with. And it was really important to have this support from service providers and Patricia as our local data expert. It's not only, I think it's in supporting, but I think the role can go a bit beyond that, not only in supporting us when we are doing the act of depositing the data itself or retrieving, as in the case of Vasco, but also in creating foster a culture that promotes this, that prepares researchers for open data, for preparing the data, and fosters the, communicating the importance of why it is important to have this data open, and not only that, but also how the procedures work and why it is important that they work in that way. For example, I highlighted the issue of the vocabularies, and I think it's important to explain to researchers why having this control vocabulary is more important than specifying in a very detailed manner the research. I think so. To have the research findable and accessible to the public that is looking for it, and I think experts and the service providers have a really important role here.
Thank you, Luis. I think what you also highlight is that they are there for you from the beginning till the end of the process. It's actually a circular process. Now, if we look at the DMAC, so they are there for every step of the way to help you to publish an archive, as Patricia already said, but also, as you say, to make it sure that your research and your data are findable and accessible for other researchers to pick up, like Vasco did in your case.
I can confirm this.
Okay.
So the follow-up was really excellent, to making sure that I received what I asked for, and that I understood what was there and what other things I could do with the data or resources that were available. It's really beginning to end researcher experience. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So this is where you really found a lot of support in the discovery of data sets that you didn't know about, maybe.
Exactly.
Yeah. I don't know if one of the service providers
Patricia, wanted to say something here. Yes, thank you.
Yes, just to add to what Luis and Vasco have said. So yes, we do our best to support researchers, to give them all the support in defining and describing the metadata and the data, so that other researchers can access the data and read the data properly. So it's very important also to give credits to CESSDA, because the MEG is a really important tool, I believe, so that researchers, so in that case, CESSDA supports the research workflow, because it shows all the data lifecycle. They have all the chapters well organized and a lot of questions, so they can see if they are understanding with answering the questions of data management plans. We actually, APIs translated the data management plan, because some researchers might want to see it in Portuguese, and it is already available in our website in APIs. So I think it's a very good help to researchers to organize the data, and so they can be sure that others can read and access their data. Yes, I believe so.
Thanks, Patricia, because you make a very nice link to how you prepare it, how you support researchers in preparing those metadata that then were then picked up again by Thomas in his demo, really showing how important they are for the discovery, or really the finding the data sets that are relevant for your research at that moment. Thanks. Stephanie, passing on to you for the last question.
Yeah, lovely, thank you. So the last question is, what is your advice for researchers trying to build on or reuse the huge amount of already existing data on climate change? And I'd like to pass the floor first to Vasco and then to Patrizia again. Thank you.
So my advice is really to be open and search for what exists, not just skimming through the data, but getting data, asking for consulting the metadata, but asking for databases that exist, and trying to see what's there that might be useful for you. As Ari said, some of the questions on climate change have been asked for a long time, and the terminology changes, even though the questions might be similar throughout time. And even in a cross-disciplinary, from a cross-disciplinary standpoint, sometimes the questions are framed differently with a different theoretical point of view, but they might suit other researchers. So it's important to get a grasp of the data and really touch it, have it in your folder and going through it and see what can be answered from the data that you have. And like I said, sometimes there are huge chunks of data available that have not been used before. And this is another issue where the contact with the support might be helpful, because they point out the metadata, and the support personnel, they point out who produced the data, what has been produced by these researchers, and you can also see what has been published and see if there's something there that you don't want to repeat. I think that's what I would say. Just get your hands on the data and explore it. And I'm always searching catalogs to see what's out there. I really do it all the time. I think it's a good idea, because there is so much data available. Sometimes I also teach, and sometimes students say, this has never been asked before. No, many questions have been asked before, but they sometimes are reframed, and they are in the catalogs in many occasions, just framed differently.
I could add to that question. If we think about my presentation on what you can search, I could have done another 20 minutes on what you do once you get to the catalog and what kind of searches you can do there. I briefly showed the variables from FSD's catalog, and this is something that you might want to do when you really dig deep into the data. You go to a local catalog and you go through the question texts and variables, because then you can find very useful single variables from the data sets that have nothing to do with your research topic as such, but they could be used or could be also, could be also coming from data series like the SSP, where you can have sort of different waves going back, and you are able to do comparisons using those single variables.
Thanks a lot, Thomas.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Steph.
Patrizia, if you'd like to add to that.
Yes, I was trying to do a catch up. So because it's very important, all that has been said, and for reusing, it's very important. I think researchers that are listening to us should know that to reuse data, it's not possible to reuse data if it's not published. So again, emphasizing the importance of archiving and publishing data, and choosing, for instance, a trust domain repository. So APIS is already a trust repository with the support of CESSDA Trust Group. finally got the court seal certification in September. So, but to sum up, I would like to say that researchers must have the conscience and to know that they should properly cite that, do the proper data citations. So not only to the sources, but to the original authors of the studies, so they can be cited. Also the licenses are very important. Normally, CC-BY is the most common used and recommended for maximum dissemination of data. An agreement should be made between the service provider, the archive or repository, and the authors of the study or the depositor, because when depositing data, they should decide which license should be associated with the data. And the API, for instance, recommends the CBI, that it's the most recommended one, so other researchers can disseminate the data with the proper credits, yes? So I think it's the most important ideas here, that so other researchers can discover data and reuse data only if it's published, so, and properly published.
Thanks, Patricia. I think that's a very nice comment you make to the proper attribution of the data to the authors. Thanks a lot. Steph, I don't know, you had a poll to understand a little bit more about the people on the call.
Yes. Yeah, we can launch these very quickly. It's been a fantastic audience this afternoon. They've been very interactive, lots of questions, and thank you to everyone from the panelists, but also experts present on this roadshow this afternoon. We'd like to know if you're planning to now use the data catalogue now that you've understood a lot more about it and seen, you know, real world experiences of researchers doing the same. We'll be very quick. I'll give you another 5 seconds and then we'll end and launch the answers. And then we'll do another one quickly on DMEG. Okay, I'm going to stop it. I think I've got enough. So probably it's quite a useful source of data is the top answer. Let me just share those results with you. So there you are. So thank you for answering this poll. Well, I'm just going to stop sharing and we will now launch the second one. There we go. There it is. So it's the same question basically. Are you planning to use the CESSDA DMEG after what you've heard this afternoon? I'll give you a little bit longer so that we can do the wrap up. All the questions and comments that we've received in the chat have been saved, by the way, because I think this is really valuable for this dialogue that's taking place through the roadshows, and it can be something to build up on in the future. Okay, I'm going to launch in a couple of seconds. And that's a similar kind of response from the audiences. Again, probably it's quite useful. So thank you to our audiences for doing the polls. Marika, if you'd like to, I think there's an announcement actually on the survey. Marika, if you want, can you see the chat or I can read it out?
Yeah, I can't see the chat. Maybe you can read it out, yeah.
So yeah, there's a message thanks to Christy Winters from GASIS. The raffle winner is 147, so 147. You will receive an email from Christy Winters with you to collect the last digit to arrange your Audible book. I hope I've said that right. Okay, so 147 is the winner, so congratulations to them. Okay, I'll leave you with the final. I think it's very interesting discussions this afternoon and a real example of how the two sides come together to you know, support that the data, making the data available, reusing and the data for some really insightful research that's much needed on climate change. So I'll leave the final word to you, Marika.
Yes, thanks, Steph. I just want to echo your words. I think what we've seen today is a brilliant showcase of really the full data life cycle being supported by both the CESSDA service providers, the CESSDA Data Catalogue, the CESSDA Data Management Expert Guide, and putting this into practice with the service providers and the researchers on the call. And I think the researchers, so both Vasco, Luis, and Harry, I think you've really showed a great use of the data, of the CESSDA Data Catalogue and the Data Management Expert Guide and the services of the service providers. So I want to thank all of the speakers here today, Tuomas, Harry, Patricia, Luis, and Vasco. Thanks a lot, everyone. It was really great working with you on this roadshow, and thanks for your energetic presentations and discussions. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah, a big thank you to the panelists and to the audience. Great interactions. Thank you. Well, now, yeah, bye everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for the questions.
Bye.